So I get asked quite a lot of questions on Twitter and Instagram about how I did my Lumineth Realm Lords scheme. So I thought I'd just do a little quick video and just sort of like take you through what I've done and how I've done it, and then, you know, if you've got any extra questions, you can sort of like just comment in the comment section, or let me know on Instagram or on Twitter itself. So yeah, the scheme is based and inspired by the Great Nation of Syar scheme, which is like a GW official scheme. And so like essentially here is the scheme itself. And it's based around using a lot of contrast paints. I wanted the army to be to look nice, to be good on the table, and also be able to add to it. You know, if I didn't want to be sort of like paint 30 wardens and then go, right, well, I now need to paint another 30 wardens if I wanted to do that list, and it'd take a long time. That was the biggest issue I had with my Stormcast army that I've done, which at some point I'll probably do another video on. So yeah, so essentially the entire model is sprayed Wraithbone, which is obviously I'm really a big fan of the GW contrast paints. They allow you to get stuff on the table really quickly. I use Wraithbone mostly because I think it's a really good base color and gives you that warm undertone as opposed to the gracy or cool one. And also, like, I find that the white is a little bit, you can never tell with GW white spray paint. I've had a lot of issues in the past with it bobbling up, whereas I've not had that with Wraithbone. So yeah, so I spray the entire model Wraithbone, and that is the basis of the armor. What I then do is I paint all of the cloth. Now I'm trying to get it so you can see the highlights because it's quite dark and deep and you can't quite see it. But I paint all of the cloth Baraknar Burgundy. You can kind of see it there in the recesses. And what I then do is I mix Baraknar Burgundy with Screamer Pink, 50-50, and apply that there. You can kind of see the difference in tonal variation there between the shade and the highlight. And then I can paint Screaming Pink, and you can see that like for the line highlight. It's a lot less subtle. You lose a little bit because of the black background and sort of like the fact that I'm videoing as opposed to taking a photo. But yeah, that's how I do the burgundy. Now I've got all of the sort of like the colours in a pinned tweet on my Twitter page. The purple, which I get asked about quite a lot, is Phoenician Purple, which is one of the new paints that GW, I think new, it's been out a while now, but Phoenician Purple is a base. I then mix Phoenician Purple and Wraithbone 50-50 for the line highlight, and then do a line of Grey Seer, not Wraithbone, just for the pin line. Again, it's not looking that neat here. When you can see that, you know, if I really want to take it and make it a lot neater, I could cut back in and make it a lot smoother. The metallics, all of these silvers are done with Stormhost Silver. And they just base coat the entire thing Stormcast silver and then apply a gloss non-oil like wash all over. I did that on the front of the shield as well. The gold is a mix of Liberator and Stormhost Silver 50-50. Not Liberator, sorry, Retributor and Stormhost Silver 50-50. I really like the way Retributor covers on a model, and Liberator, whilst being a nice colour, is kind of like just very difficult to get smooth. It doesn't seem to cover as well. So I just basically bought a pot of Retributor, bought a pot of Stormhost, put them together, and that made the basis of like the really light gold that you can see sort of here. And then I edge highlight it Stormhost Silver. I do controlled sort of washes in certain places, like around here, for the with Agrax Earthshade. Or it's not even called Agrax Earthshade anymore. It might be. I'm not sure. I do like the dark brown gloss into the recesses. The armor itself is left Wraithbone completely. What I then do is I mix Snakebite contrast paint 50-50 with contrast medium. Whenever I'm doing contrast paints, I always mix them with contrast medium just because it makes it a little bit, well, it allows it to do the job that it needs to do still. And what I do then is I pin wash, which I know a lot of people don't like the term, but what I essentially do, if I can sort of like show you on the head, it's really weird, is that the entire body here is completely left Wraithbone from the spray, and then I just line very sort of like carefully with the contrast into the recesses, and I do that on the entire model. That way it gives you the shade without actually having to reapply another coat of paint. The hair is done with left Wraithbone and then a 50-50 mix of Skeleton Horde. I then reapply the lines of Wraithbone just to add that definition. You might not be able to see, you probably see it a bit better there. The feathering in the hair is done with Baraknar Burgundy, just to sort of like, again, following the artwork from the out of the Lumineth Realm Lord book, which is kind of cool. All of the blacks are done using Valio Black. I've got it in front of me actually, which is this one. It's like, I just find it the best black on the market. It's just amazing. The browns here, that's just done with Cygor Brown. And then it's the Basilicum Grey for the handle. All of the gems are painted sort of like a quick and easy way instead of doing it the proper way, if that makes sense. Again, it's all about sort of like time saving. So I reapply a Wraithbone to all of the gems, and then I do sort of like the classic style, but instead of doing it with paint, I do it once with a contrast paint where I get Pterodon Turquoise, and essentially I put the brush on the bottom part of the gem and pull it up to the top, pull the brush off, and what you've got is you leave a deposit there of sort of like the most pigment of the paint. Now, this isn't like rocket science. Like Darren Latham's got a much more in-depth video on it. You know, I think Terry touches on it herself, but it's just the quick and easy way of doing it. And what I do is just essentially contrast it straight to the top, pull it off. It allows that there to be lighter, that there to be darker. I put a dot on it and it's done. And then I do again Pterodon Turquoise contrast on these bits. You can see all of the little bits that need tidying up on this one because it's still like a gaming army. The plan was to get as many as I can on the table and then go back and tidy them up. Here's a work in progress one, so you can see kind of like where it is without all of the bits on it. It's just a case of like layering up and adding bits to it to make it look a bit neater there. Dawn Riders, I get, again, a lot of questions about the horse on the Dawn Rider. The standard Dawn Rider stuff's just essentially the same as a Warden, but you just pick and choose where you put the paint. You know, so, you know, your Baraknar Burgundy there, your purple that would be on the tassel there. But I get a lot of questions about the horse. So the horse is essentially, again, Wraithbone. I then apply a 50-50 wash of Wraithbone and contrast, not Wraithbone, Skeleton Horde and contrast medium all over the horse. I then reapply Screaming Skull in certain places for highlights, like on the top of the horse there or down here, particularly on the folds, so you can see. Once I've done that, I then, I don't know if you can see the dappling there. There we are. I then use sort of like a glaze technique with contrast paint again, Skeleton Horde 50-50, and I brush that up to the main and then sort of like it changes the color a bit. I do the same at the bottom of the horse, like, you know, where the socks would be, and essentially just continually pull it down. So you put there, pull it to the lowest point, essentially like I explained on the gems, and keep pulling off. All of the dappled bits on there are just neat Skeleton Horde contrast and just spotted on, like, you know, stippled on, like the David Soper technique, which we learned when we were up at the class that he did at Element Games. Obviously done quick and dirty for an army painting, not to the same, nowhere near the same level as David Soper, like the guy's a genius. Front of the horse's face is just Gulliman flesh. That's one thing I didn't touch on the Warden, but all of the flesh tones in the entire army are just done with a 50-50 mix of Gulliman flesh and contrast medium. You can then go back and highlight stuff up if you want to, using you know, Kislev flesh and a mix of Wraithbone. And then last but no means least, I've got Altharion. Altharion I did very similarly to the armor, so he's basically sprayed Wraithbone. What I did with Altharion's armor, though, because I want it to look a little bit more like the GW style, was I applied a much thinner wash of the snakebite. So it would be at like 70% medium, 30% snakebite contrast, maybe even more than that. And I applied it to the entire armor. That because it sort of like tinted it that yellow color that you can see sort of like on the top of the helmet and sort of like on his chest plate. I then edged all of the filigree with Wraithbone, and in certain places white, just to sort of like make it pop a little bit more. and I thought that was quite made him look quite cool and stand out. Again, the gem's done the same way, the gold done the same way as everyone else. The sword power weapon bit is just really easy. Just paint the model and then just water down again with contrast medium athematic blue contrast paint, and just sort of like apply that as glazes, and then it kind of makes it look like it's glowing. Again, it's not like by any stretch of the imagination like top end painting. It's just, I think, solid army painting, and it'll kind of look good on the table. That was the plan. The cloak is a prime example here. You can see there, like, it's very stark. That's just sort of like incubi darkness and black just sort of like applied onto the cloak, just because I like the coolness that incubi darkness brings. You know, eventually I'll go back and bring that up to a higher level. So yeah, so that's that. And then the last thing to touch on is the bases, because everyone talks about the bases all the time. So this is a base that I've not attached anything to yet, and this is essentially just following the Rob Paints Models Guide of Heavy Painted St. Celestine's base, which is, you know, spray. I cut corners because that's what I do. You know, I sprayed the entire base dark at your green Caliban spray because I've got a couple of tins of those left, and then use the baby wipe technique to sort of like apply it over and then airbrush over the top of it to get all of the mouldy effects, and then sort of like applied the gold and then gloss varnished and stuff. But yeah, like, by all means, go and check out Rob's video. It's a much better explanation, and that's kind of where I got mine from. And so yeah, there we are. Like, it's not the best painted army by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think that on the table it will look really nice, and that was the whole plan, was to get it on the table, get it looking nice, and hopefully get it and play some games with it. Obviously that's not going to happen at the moment with everything that's going on with COVID and stuff still, but yeah, I mean, overall I'm happy with it. If you have any questions at all, like, by all means, like, get in touch, even in the comments below, Twitter, via the FACEHAMMER one, or my one underscore Winter Soldier, you know, on Instagram. Let me know, and yeah, like, please comment below in this video, like and subscribe if you like. If you like it, let us know if you want more of this. I know Byron's going to be doing a video as well. It's probably going to be up before this one. So by all means, let us know what you like, what you don't like, and if you'd like to see more of it. So thanks a lot.